Well, good evening everybody, welcome to this evening's meeting. We're trying very hard to be COVID safe here. We have a big responsibility to our staff and also to obviously our councillors. So we've reduced our officer commitment this evening, and many of them are appearing online, and also some of them are living with COVID patients, so they're joining us virtually, as I say. We also have a number of councillors who are joining us virtually, but I do have to say that if you are unable to vote or join in, I hope if you wanted to say something, you submitted it to the clerk before now. But we do have our new Community Development Officer with us, Mike Gibbon. There he is. Thank you, Mike. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Of course, yes.
And just talk for no more than 5 minutes about what you're going to do with us.
Perfect. Am I removing my mask? Is that okay?
Yeah, please, so people can see who you are.
Perfect, all right. Well, hello everybody. I believe I've met most of you actually at the meeting in December, and those of you virtually as well. Just have to say a big hello, and I'll be working very closely, hopefully, with all of you over the coming months and the next few years. So my role, basically, in brief, because I think if you look up community development online, you'll get a plethora of different definitions, because it's really based on where you're living and who you're living around. So I'll be supporting our community and its organizations mainly. I hope to be the main point of contact to our community groups and our local associations. And I think what I'd like to do, and of course I'll be delivering a presentation next month. I'm in the process right now of drafting the plan, the action plan rather, for community development in the area. But I want to build a community network. I want to make sure that none of our groups or our residents are an island. I'd like to build this together stronger because, I think, especially COVID, has really been tough on a lot of our organizations, and meeting with them over the past couple of weeks, I've been on a massive fact-finding mission, and I'm sure I've spoken to some of you during that, and definitely sent out my hellos. But I think a lot of groups right now are struggling, be it with uptake, how to access funding, getting community events off the ground. I want to be that main point of contact. And I think as the role develops and as I develop in the role, it'll become almost a self-perpetuating engine, I hope, where things will land on my desk and organically develop. But as of right now, I just want to say my door's always open. Please drop in, say hello, ask me any questions, things that any community group wants to get off the ground. I really want to work closely with them and see how we can work together. Because moving forward, especially as the parish expands over the next couple of years, I think it's really important to build a strong network now and make it so almost that there's a really productive working relationship between the council and the residents, insofar as that we're able to support them and signpost them and really contribute to this place building. Shared experiences and shared services are massively important to me, and I think that's intrinsic to building fairer. We're very lucky in this parish that we do have well-organized community groups that really are functioning quite well and have done pre-COVID. I want to make sure that stays strong and we can continue that post-COVID moving forward, especially as the Horton Heath project really gets off the ground in the next year. I think now is a great opportunity before that happens to get my foot in the door and work with us closely. So that's pretty much it for me at the moment. However, if there's any questions that I've not explained myself appropriately, please do ask me anything. Yeah.
I just got one question. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I don't think we've met on Graham.
Hi.
Have you introduced yourself through social media, the local social media?
Definitely. Well, what I've done at the moment, I'm trying to keep my private social media completely separate, but I've created a Facebook account with the parish logo, Community Development Officer. I've joined all of the local residents groups, and just I think right now I'm keeping my ear to the ground and seeing what's going on, because there's a lot of projects right now in the pipeline where I really want to use the talent and skills of the local community. In the 1980s, I won't bore you with this, but there was a development made at Northwestern University called the asset-based approach. And what that is building on what's strong and not what's wrong. There is a real danger of having a client and customer relationship when it comes to this, and I don't want that. I want us to use our talent and our skills in the parish. So if there's local artists who want to get involved with bench building, if we're putting a bench somewhere, or things like that, I really want to keep my ear to the ground at the moment, especially with the residents groups. like Crowdsil, for instance, or Stow Kites. So I'll join those at the moment and just kind of lurking in the background, just taking note and taking file of who's who. Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Mike, for that, and we look forward to working with you in the future on lots of different things.
Awesome. Well, please use me. That's what I'm here for. Great. So hi.
This meeting is open for members of the public to talk. Nobody has notified the clerk with anything in advance, and we have no members of the public here. So we will now start the Parish Council meeting on Monday the 17th of January. So welcome everybody. We do have some apologies. We have apologies from Councillors Forfer, Bird, Smith and Tennant, although they are joining us online, but they're not able, unfortunately, and legislation doesn't enable them to be able to vote or to take part in the meeting. They have had the opportunity to express their views before this meeting. So we're very pleased that they're here. I'm Helen Douglas and I chair the Parish Council. And we have here, perhaps councillors would just like to introduce themselves quite loudly for the microphone.
I'm Nick Coombry, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I'm Cheryl Marsh, I'm Councillor and Eastern
Okay. I'm Graham Beach, Parish Council.
I'm Scott Anderson, Parish Council.
Hugh McGinnis, also Parish Council.
Trudy Hickley, also a parish councillor.
Peter Bauer, who's also a Parish Council.
Thank you. We have the Deputy Clerk, Linda Greenslade, in attendance and other officers virtually. So welcome, anyone. Are there any more declarations of interest or dispensation requests for anything that's on the agenda?
I will be discussing the library and I have a role in that as well.
Thank you. So Councillor Caudry is declaring an interest in the library. Thank you. So the minutes of the meeting, which was paper A, the 15th of November, are they a correct record of what we said? Somebody like to propose them, please? Thank you, Councillor Caudry, seconded by Councillor Anderson. All in favour? And we are. And we're noting the planning minutes and delegated decisions of November the 26th and the 10th of December. Does anybody want to raise any comments about those? Thank you. Perhaps the clerk can move the agenda down. Right, they're the minutes of the last meeting. Okay, thank you. Okay, so item 3 then. This is to consider applications for the co-option to the Parish Council. We have a vacancy, one vacancy, and we've had one application, Mr. Gary Stockwell. Gary, would you like to just say a few words about why you would like to be a Parish Councillor, please?
Yeah, sure. It's really encouraged by Mike because I feel like saying ditto and just sitting back because I'm used to, from the church point of view, coming alongside the priests and that and do my lay role. And I felt, in a way, when Mike was talking, to come alongside him in his role and obviously other things within the area, because communication has been what I do. It's what I'm passionate about. I'm a married man of 32 years now. 2 grown-up children, so I've had a bit of life experience just by that really. But my passion is to, if there's something being said here and people missed out on hearing it, why shouldn't we can it and get it spread out so other people are blessed by what someone has said or done, and really promoting, the positive side of being in community. Obviously, from a church point of view, I've been doing that in a way, but that's restricted, where now I feel that we can really work together with all the community groups, not just church, not just a few of the obvious ones. And already working with Mel at different times to look at what communication can look like. I've got 1,001 ideas, probably only need one, but I'm always going to offer something. So I'm just really excited about being part of the team, really. A real team player. Don't like to do things particularly on my own. I end up having to do that sometimes, but if we can grow the team and I can be part of it, I'll be really pleased to do my bit. Really have the sense that the ethos behind being a parish councillor really fits in with my personal sort of ways of doing life. So yeah, I'll submit myself to you.
Thank Thank you. And of course it is Gary that helps us with all our IT stuff and all those lovely films that we've had that we put on our social media and so on. So thank you, Gary. We do need to have a vote. So can
Yes,
I just ask you to... Well, Gary, I'm very pleased to welcome you to the Parish Council of Fareham and Horton Heath.
Thank you.
You have been unanimously elected, so welcome, and you can stay in that chair now and join in. We have some paperwork for you to sign,
Sure.
and your acceptance and a couple of other things which Linda will deal with. And welcome.
Fantastic, thank you.
Right, let's move on to item 4 then, please, which is our budget and our precept and fees and charges. It was report B, it was exceptionally lengthy. I'm sure that everyone has read it in details. Are there any questions at all about this? No, in which case, Councillor Baldry.
When we were discussing it in the working party, we were proposing only a 2% rise, but it was very marginal at the time. It was contingent on 1 or 2 other things to go. I couldn't identify what. Obviously, something's developed that's started up to 2%.
Yes, there have been some developments, mainly with staffing costs and increases in that, which plainly I can't go into in detail in public.
But if that's necessary, then that's the explanation.
Yes, it is. I mean, it amounts to, I think, is it 6 pence rise, Mel? 6 pence rise for a Band D household. Yes. Any other questions? So I'm going to propose then that we accept the recommendation set out in the report. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Trudy, all in favour? And we are unanimous. Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the finance report as presented in report C? Again, that was an extremely long report. Any questions from anybody? In which case, I'm going to propose that we accept the report. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Leach. All in favour? And we are. Thank you. So let's move on to Fountain Cafe. I see we've got Matt Nicholson here in attendance in case we've got any questions about this. Again, we've had quite a detailed report and plans about this particular project. And I understand that we needed to streamline the project because it was going to be far too expensive, and we've made some alterations. So we have removed the veranda and sliding security screens, which is a shame, but it's still going to be a very nice looking building. But we've also made an alteration in that we've allowed an external door so that people who are using the splash pad will be able to access the toilets without going in and out of the cafe, which is really helpful. And those toilet facilities will be locked when the splash pad shuts, so that would be fine. And they're reflected in the design that's in Appendix 1, if you haven't looked at it. For the budget, which is in Appendix 2, the only change that I'm aware of now is that the preferred demolition contractor has come in at £11,400. So that means we've got to take £1,400 from our contingency fund in order to deliver the project. We also need to agree, as is listed in the report, considering allocating £15,000 from our general reserve for this, because it is more expensive than we thought. But we do need to have a building that is fit for everything that we need to do in it. So we do need to allocate £15,000 from our general reserves. Matt, at that point, do you want to say anything at all?
No, I don't think there's really anything to add, unless anybody has got any questions at this point.
No, there's lots of shaking of heads here. As you know, we've got our planning application in with Eastleigh Borough Council, but there was a bit of a hold-up with the ecology department there. We've had a meeting with them. The ecology department is very happy with all the other measures that we are doing, but we've still got no confirmation from the planning officer on when our application might be granted. So that's sort of hanging in abeyance at the moment.
We don't need permission to start demolition.
We do need permission to start the demolition, yes. We have to do some paperwork, but we also need the scouts to sign a particular piece of paper, which we thought they were signing on Friday, but there's been a small delay, probably a COVID-related delay. I don't know exactly know what it is. But until that's done, we can't demolish the building, sadly. So the recommendations then in the report are that we agree the alternate cafe design, that we allocate £15,000 from our general reserve in order to build this, and that Chris Rogers Demolition are appointed as the contractors, and that we will be using the Brookfield Road hard standing during the cafe opening hours as a trial, not a permanent thing. So it will be trialled only when the cafe is open. So those are the recommendations that are in the report D. Any points anyone wants to make? Mel, anything you'd like to say?
No, Chairman, just to reiterate what you've already said, the Scouts, I emailed our solicitor this afternoon for an update. Unfortunately, we haven't heard from the other side, so I'll keep chasing members will keep chasing the solicitors on that and let members know outside of the meeting on progress.
Thank you very much. So I'm proposing then that we go with the recommendations that were in report D. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Marsh. All in favour? And we are. Lovely. That's absolutely excellent. Thank you, Matt, for attending. If you want to turn your camera off now, please feel free. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. This is really quite a big agenda for us, isn't it? Because we've just agreed to build our community cafe. Now we're looking at our splash pad, and then we're going to look at the library building improvements. So it's a really big moment for us here. So this is our report E, all about our splash pad. The clerk has been told by Eastleigh Borough Council that we do need to submit a planning application for it. We did think we needed to. But it can run concurrently with our tendering process for it. And as part of the planning application, as they've done with the cafe, they've got to take some soil samples from the site. So this might mean that planning takes a little bit longer, because as you know, the site was a landfill before then. So any questions at all for Mel on the splash pad proposal?
I didn't see precisely where it was going to go.
It's going next to the community cafe, running parallel with Shorts Road, but the precise distance has not yet been agreed. Mike is going to hold some meetings with residents of Brookfield and Shorts Road to talk about it and allay any fears that they might have and have some discussions about it and keep that going so that residents are fully consulted. We've already had one of those meetings which was very poorly attended. In fact, it was just one person that came. But we're going to try again and just engage people so that they understand what we're doing, because often dealing with change is difficult, it's not the change itself. So we want to try and work with residents. But of course the splash pad is something that overwhelming numbers of our parishioners have asked us to put in.
And we're doing another consultation after on the general public on this.
With the residents of Shorts Road and Brookfield?
Just those two.
Yes.
Well, we'll see what
Helen, if it helps Councillor Baldwin, we already have done a parish-wide survey on the splash pad.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
I'm not sure we have a need to do another.
No, but I thought that's all. That's it.
Okay. Councillor Leach.
When the planning to put into Eastleigh Borough Council, now we have to do a planning. Won't they do consultation period?
Yes, there will be. It will follow the same planning rules that any other application will follow. The only difference is that we don't pay as much. We get a discount because we're another public authority.
So I'm just trying to answer a bit what
Yeah.
Nick's saying.
Well, it's a very technical consultation that it's in planning rules rather than the principle.
Well, we've had the plans on display, we've put it on social media, we've
No,
invited
no, I
residents.
understand that.
Yeah, so we need to forge ahead with it now. It's now or never really, I think, and we want this up and running in time for the summer, so that would be very helpful. So we do have a shortfall. We have got money ourselves and we are having money from developer contributions, but we will need to have another input from the local area committee, and we have asked them for an extra nearly £113,000, which they have in developer contributions, and we have been indicated that we are going to get this money from them. But until we actually have confirmation on that, I think it's the 26th of January, then we won't be doing anything else. But without that money, we can't go ahead. But it is money that's allocated for Fair Oak and Horton Heath, so hopefully the indications are correct.
Just a quick one, Chair. We will then proceed, once we've got all that, to a formal tendering process, but if we haven't got any idea yet what it would cost.
Oh, we do, yes. We've had indicative quotes, yes, from companies. We do know roughly how much it's going to cost. Mel, can you remind me? It's in...
Yeah, that's in the...
219, 450.
Michelle's just scrolling down to the finance section.
Yeah, 219,450. So we do know how much it will be, yes. And we will be using the indicative quotes that we've had and plans to submit the planning application with.
Yeah.
We also know that it's going to cost us about £4,000 a year to run during the summer months. So any more questions about it? Would somebody like to propose then all the recommendations on the report with the amendment that the council submits a planning application and costs, and that we take that from our legal and professional budget? Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Higby. All in favour? And we are. So another. So another huge thing for this parish council in this meeting. Absolutely amazing.
I think it'll be well used, Chair.
Oh, it will be.
I'm okay.
Yes.
I'll be there.
I don't know if we're going to put an age limit on it or not, but if you take grandchildren, it doesn't matter, does it? Okay, let's move on to the library building improvements programme. Are we happy with Councillor Caudry staying in the room, or would we like him to leave?
I think it would be useful to have him in the room in case there are any questions he might be able to answer.
Any dissenters? Okay, thank you. So Mel, you've got an update, I think. You talked to Carter Jonas, you wrote report F, but you've got a further update for us. So Mel.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So members will, after reading the report, noted that the report actually doesn't give any timeline to the project. This is largely due to the fact that I needed to establish the flexibility of the budget, which is obviously very constrained, and seek further advice from Carter Jonas, who undertook the feasibility study. Having spoken to them, I'm a little bit more confident about the budget. The costing provided by Carter Jonas was based on the CIS, which is the British Construction Industry Standard, which really relies quite heavily on the big contractors. Given the scale of the project and the fact that we as a parish council like to attract all contractors to local trades, it is more likely that we will get a better price from a local builder. So there is opportunity in the budget there for sure. As the project is over 25k, we need to undertake a robust specification and tender process. And given that the budget needs to be stretched quite a long way, and there really isn't any real room for error, after speaking to Carter Jonas, I really would suggest that this element of the project be given over to a specialist, which, having had indicative costs from them, it looks like it will cost us about £3,500. The sustainability elements of the project we can look to grant fund and install at a later date. Going back to timings, if the council agree the tender work, I would anticipate that the building work will commence sort of July, August time. These times suit the community library. They indicated to myself and the chair at the meeting that August, September time is generally speaking quite a month for libraries. So actually, although it's quite a long lead-in time, it works out well for the library. Obviously, as a council, we would do what we can to support the library, providing a pop-up library whilst the work is being undertaken. So whilst it looks like on paper we're over budget, we're only really going to know how far that budget is going to be stretched when we produce, when we put the project out to tender. So really I kind of feel that that's the next steps for councillors, is to agree the approach in principle and the budget in principle, subject to us going out to tender, and then obviously I'll come back to the council with a report after we've had those tender documents in and we know what the budget is likely to look like.
Any questions for Mel? Councillor Meach.
So we're just looking at the moment then to possibly approve the going out to tender process. That's the next step we're looking at.
Well, and the other recommendations in the report that were in report F.
So the options in terms of what we do for the building is really a mismatch of option 1 and option 2 that the feasibility study provided. I appended the feasibility study, so hopefully members have all read that and seen the designs. One of the designs was in option 3 that we have a pitched roof. Unfortunately, the pitched roof comes out at 55,000, which takes up like 90% of our budget. So obviously that is not an option, as I explained in the report. It's not an option for the parish council. So what we need to do is repair the roof and prioritise the work. So obviously the priority works will be the major repair works to the extent of the building, ensuring that the building is energy efficient, so blocking up some of the old brittle windows and putting in sky or sun pipes, which I've said before to members, are actually provide 30% more light than normal windows. And then obviously the other priority option is rejigging the internal space so that it becomes more of a flexible and user-friendly and inviting spaces for members of the public. So that's how we prioritise the work.
Thanks, Mel. Any other questions? So would somebody like to propose that?
I'm not quite sure. We've still got a plan of £20,000. We're not there yet.
Mel, can you comment on that? Did you hear it?
Not necessarily, because Carter Jonas, as I explained earlier, has said to us that their costings are at the higher end of the spec. So by putting a tender out, we will get more realistic costings, and then we can then review the budget at a later date.
But it needs to be reviewed.
Oh, it will be reviewed, yes, it can't just go ahead. But we need to have the tender documents before we can do that and see what we can get from money, really. And I'm assuming
It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, I'm afraid, Chair.
I'm assuming if there's a shortfall, we would ask the LAC whether there's any funding to all of us.
Well, the LAC have indicated that there is no more funding for the library there, but we can ask, but they have indicated that. So I think the first step before we get too carried away is to get this tender out so we can see exactly how much it will cost us with local builders and go from there. So would anyone like to propose that? Thank you very much, Michelle. So that is with the amendment that Carter Jonas do the tendering. Graham, thank you. Is seconding. All in favour? And we are. Thank you. So Mel, if you could put the work programme up on the screen, please. For anybody watching us, this is just a look ahead as to what we do in our full council meetings. And that's what we've got for February. Did anybody wish to add anything to the work programme for February? No? In which case we will just note that. Thank you. So I notice we still have Mrs. Carhill here, our finance officer. I think we've finished with all the finance stuff, Jo, so if you would like to log out, please feel free to. Thank you for your attendance this evening. So let's move on to item 10 then, and this is Michelle, our Deputy Clerk, who's going to give us an update on website advertising. So Michelle.
Thank you, Chairman. It was basically just an update following from the email that I sent out in December because the full council meeting was cancelled. And it was just to offer you the results from the snap poll that was requested by members in the November meeting. And as you can see, although there is resounding support for advertising on the website, search-based advertising wasn't seen as a priority. However, they would like to see a jobs board on the Parish Council website, advertising local jobs to local people. So basically, it was just to ask Council to consider the following options. Number one, that we create a free jobs board for local businesses to advertise locally, or that we allow local businesses and community groups and services to advertise their businesses and their events on our website for a non-fee. And either we pursue both options, or one of each, or none. So it was basically to put that to you. I know it wasn't agendaed as such, because it was just a verbal update, so I'm not sure, Mel, if we need to carry that forward to the next full council meeting as a recommendation on the agenda. But it's just basically to see how you feel about how that you see the snapshot of.
Thanks very much, Michelle. We will have to discuss this at a full council meeting, but does anyone want to share any thoughts that they've got on those options?
I just think it would be very good to have a directory of local businesses so people can support local companies. So when you need a plumber, you could go onto the website and find a plumber who is local, then you choose to use them. Or if there are few to choose from, the choice is then yours. But knowing who's available locally, I think would be well worth doing. So, thank you.
And the jobs board,
Can you say that a bit louder, Councillor?
I would also like to see a jobs board.
Okay. Councillor Meach?
And I think we need to determine what local is.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, because you can get caught out dialing local numbers, can't you? And then you're talking to somebody in Manchester who just has the name Fair Oak in their database. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other comments anyone wants to make at this stage? Okay, so Mel, if this can go onto the agenda, please, for next month, and we will make a decision then. And meanwhile, I'll ask councillors to have a think about what options they might prefer and how they work. And we'll talk about it then and make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So item 11 then is about our corporate events and the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Fair Oak and Horton Heath have traditionally always celebrated, going back to Queen Victoria's Jubilee actually, there's all sorts of stuff in our records about things that we've done for various Jubilees, so I can see no reason why this one should be different. But we do need to make sure we've got enough time to plan something for this. And so it's being suggested that the council delegate the responsibility for the whole thing to the newly formed Communication and Events Task Group, which I'm going to come on to in a moment, with supporting officers to help us. So at the moment we have a committee called Community Events, or something like that, don't we, Mel? Can't remember the exact name of it. Thank you, the Community Events Subcommittee. And that's a formal committee of the Parish Council, but what we're suggesting is that we disband that committee. Instead, we have a corporate events, including the Platinum Jubilee. So we would be looking at not only events that we run, but about the whole way that we communicate things. So we call it communications and events. We call it a task and finish group, which means that we don't have to have public meetings, although the public are very welcome to come to them. But we don't have to publish lots of detail about them. We can actually get on and do some work without being bound by some of the normal rules that prevent us doing things as a parish council. So that's a suggestion, first of all, that we do disband our current subcommittee and that we have a task and finish group instead, called the Communications and Events Committee. So that's the first thing to think about. And then the second thing is, who wants to be on it? And the third thing is, can we delegate everything that's going to happen this year for communication and for events that we might hold to that task and finish group? So it would be things like Remembrance Sunday, carols in the square, and any other events that we need to recognise during the year. There's so many things to look at chairing a meeting online, looking at the chat box as well as everybody else knows. So first of all, shall we disband our current subcommittee? Thank you. Who would like to second that? Thank you, Councillor Barrett. All in favour of that? And we're going to resurrect a new group called the Communications and Events Task and Finish Group. I'll propose that. Who would like to second it? Thank you, Councillor Marsh. All in favour? And we are. And here's the bit that is tricky. Who would like to be on it? Now, I know somebody's just said so on the chat.
We all pointing at Gary.
Everyone's pointing at Councillor Stockwell, our new councillor.
I think I volunteered last week by email.
Councillor, yes, thank you very much. Councillor Meach volunteered by email, so did I. Is there anybody else who would like to be on that? Then you will have some officers supporting us as well. Okay, right, well, if anybody does want to, the clerk says only 5 councillors. Well, we haven't got to 5 yet, but we might, you never know.
The first meeting's on Thursday, 20th at 10 o'clock on Teams.
Thank you. So the first meeting on Thursday on Teams at 10 o'clock. So you'll be sent a link to that one. Marvellous, good. Okay, finally, we need to look at the membership of our committees and our task and finish groups, because we've got a new councillor now who's already been co-opted or put on one of those committees. I think that we have a vacancy on one of our committees. Mel, which one is it? Is it Asset Committee?
Yeah, Asset Committee Chair.
Gary, would you like to volunteer to be on that committee?
If it's okay, I'd probably not like to, if that's all right.
Thank you.
At this stage, anyway, who knows in the future.
Yes, well, we look at all our committees in May, and they all get juggled up so that everybody can be on everything if they want to be. But so it's difficult when you join part way through, you kind of have to slot in.
Sure.
But thank you very much. Yes?
No.
Sorry.
Sorry, no.
Let
So
your
we
no be
still
no.
have a vacancy on that committee if anyone else would like to join it. Right, well that brings our meeting to an end. Thank you very much if you're watching live online for being with us, and thank you if you're watching this later on. You're very welcome at any parish council meeting. You can turn up in person, having told the clerk that's just because of COVID, because we need to limit the number of people in our room. Or you can send suggestions or speak to our clerk using our contact details on the website, so that you can join in and comment on anything that you hear or see around the villages, or any ideas that you might have. I think our next meeting will still be like this, because there doesn't seem to be any change in legislation allowing us all to meet virtually, but we'll keep you in touch. But this is always available, we stream it out live. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, councillors, for being here, and good night, everybody.